Welcome to the Becoming Your Best Version podcast. I am your host, Maria Leonard Olson. I'm a civil litigation attorney in Washington, D.C. I am an author, a TEDx speaker, podcaster, and mentor to women in recovery. You can learn more about me at marialeonardolson.com, and I would greatly appreciate it if you would hit the like button on my TEDx talks and subscribe to and review this podcast. And consider reviewing my last book, 50 After 50, Reframing the Next Chapter of Your Life. So I started this podcast 6 years ago because my work in the realm of women in midlife, I write for various midlife publications, has brought me into contact with amazing women who have inspired me and I think will inspire you. Today, joining us is Katie Asmus. She has several decades of experience in outdoor education, therapy, teaching, mentoring, and rites of passage guiding. She incorporates present moment awareness, relationship to the natural world, body-mind connection, and ceremonial practices to support people in more deeply and compassionately connecting to themselves, others, and the earth. She believes strongly in the power of spending time in nature as a way to deeply listen inward and as a long history of creating, practicing, and facilitating personally meaningful, culturally relevant ceremonies and rites of passage. Katie also has a 30 plus career working with therapy and coaching clients and over 20 years teaching wilderness therapy, adventure therapy, ecotherapy, and somatic therapy at a graduate level. Today, Katie directs and facilitates rites of passage trainings and experiences, sees therapy and coaching clients, guest teaches, and trains therapists and healers through the Somatic Nature Therapy Institute. She has known she is known for saying that inner work is world peace work. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you. So good to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
So, how did you come to do this kind of work?
Oh, well, as you just read, I do so many different things.
Yeah.
And really, this is an evolution of my own life and work over time. And I think some of the key pieces for me are the things I say I love the most in the world are humans, connection with the natural world, and unending growth and development. And so those are threads that have been through my whole life. And during college, I started working in the outdoors, in outdoor education, doing challenge courses, leading backpacking trips, canoeing trips, mostly for kids at that time. And while I was doing those programs, they were so powerful, and I was seeing people have personal transformations and realizations. And I thought, how do I help people integrate these even more deeply into their lives when they leave, this week or 10 days out in nature? And so from there, I decided to go to graduate school to become a holistic therapist. And I studied somatic psychology with an emphasis in dance therapy at Naropa University, a Buddhist university in Boulder, Colorado. And when I began, I there were no master's degrees at that time in nature therapy or adventure therapy, which there are now. And so every special project I had, my thesis, my internship, all my classes, I would weave nature therapy into any place that I could. So I was really kind of training myself in this arena. And interestingly, synchronistically, when I graduated, I said to one of my professors, I have a dream to start a wilderness therapy master's degree. And she said, guess what? We're starting one here. It's already been approved. And at that time, I was doing some TAing with my professors. And she said, you should apply and I'd be happy to recommend you or, get involved. So I reached out to the person who was starting the program and I said, hey, I'd love to connect. I'm doing this work and I'd love to support in any way. So I ended up being the student representative on the hiring committee for the director. And then she ended up coming to a talk that I gave on my thesis project, which was teaching outdoor educators to recognize and work with trauma through somatic interventions. And then she ended up hiring me as the assistant director. So I was in the right place in the universe where at that point, all my passions came together. It didn't even exist before. And I essentially stepped in and became a part of the development of this program, of this training, at least at Naropa. And I've been a big part of, connecting in my professional communities for years. And I'm just highly creative. So I'm always sort of weaving things and thinking about new ways to, new innovative ways to weave kind of what we already know is powerful in the field of health and healing. So those are some of the key pieces. Another big piece that I do is I work with ceremony ritual rites of passage. And I've always been drawn to personally creating ceremonies for myself, my friends, my family throughout life. I grew up Catholic, but I'm not a practicing Catholic these days. But within that context, I was a part of doing retreats from high school, college on, and then moving into outdoor ed. We did a lot of different ceremonies and, with at the fire or sending people out on solo time. And so that's another piece I've been weaving throughout my work and got very involved in rites of passage, doing kind of solo wilderness quests back in the early 2000s. And so that's another body of work that I'm very passionate about. And also encouraging people to do for themselves as well as weave into their work with others.
Yeah, wow, you really cover a large gamut of therapeutic assistance to others.
Yes, yes, yes. I know. I feel like it's so funny. My fingers are in a lot of directions here, but I really, when to simplify it, the kind of the themes are for me always body-mind connection. So the wisdom of the body, connection with nature, and then bringing in ceremony and honoring. And those kind of weave in a lot of different ways through the many different work ways that I work in the world.
Yeah. Well, living where you do, Boulder and practicing in Denver as well, I would guess that people there are more open to holistic approaches. Would you say that's the case?
Well, I would say it's more a part of people's everyday life. And so it's not so unusual. And because there's been a degree program here for the last 20 plus years, I think a lot of people are recreating outside and thus, think, oh yeah, doing therapeutic work outside sounds great. But I'm also a big part of the professional communities around the country and around the world of people weaving nature into therapeutic work. And it is amazing. Okay, I want to back up and say, I think all the most powerful therapeutic modalities, the ones that I think are the most powerful anyway, come from the grassroots, right? So if we look at cultures through time, we people knew about body, mind, spirit connection,
Yeah.
right? They lived with the earth. We have lived with the earth. So all of these are things that are so inherent to who we are. And it is incredible. I'm currently supervising somebody that lives in Kansas in a rural small community. And one day she said, this nature connection has been powerful for me. I think I want to call a group of women together to do a day-long retreat. And she said within days, she had double the amount of people that she could take on this day-long retreat. And so suddenly she got in touch with me and said, what do I do? And how do I do this? And everybody wants this, and I didn't even know it was a thing. So I think while yes, where I live, it's common for people to have this, have nature connection as a part of their lives. It is incredible when people hear about it, how many people perk up with curiosity or excitement or a sense of possibility, like, wow, I could do therapy like that. That sounds really like there's something more calming and integrative about it.
Yeah. So not only do you conduct these retreats and programs, but you also help other people do their own.
Yeah, so since I've been doing this for so long, and the field itself has also, the field of nature therapy has been around for a while, it's
Mhm.
really become much more known and popular since COVID, I would say, as more therapists started looking at how do I do this work in a way that's not just sitting online all day. And so more and more people became interested. And what was, oh my gosh, what was the question you just asked me?
That you help other people do it too.
Oh, oh yes, yes. And so for many years, and since I worked in the also teaching graduate students, I've had therapists and coaches reach out and say, how do I do this work? And do I need to go back to school to get another master's degree? And so in 2005, I started doing trainings for therapists and healers who wanted to incorporate nature into their work. And then that is also because I have taught so many graduate students, I also have many people coming back doing supervision, consultation, mentoring with me. And then when COVID hit, all of the work that I was doing in person went online. And so now I mentor and teach people from around the world who want to be doing this type of work.
Yeah, I think it's so impactful. I will admit that I came to it kind of later in life and was, as a lawyer, someone who wanted to see facts, and I was a little bit wary about the whole holistic method. But now I have a somatic healer that I work with, and it has changed my life.
Yes. Well, it's amazing. When I started, I actually went to graduate school in 1997. And there's a body of work that is more well known these days called somatic experiencing. Peter Levine created that body of work and he had just written his first book. So we were studying science, but at that point, somatic therapy was totally considered woo-woo because there wasn't a lot of, scientific research out there. Although, again, we've known this in our bones for forever. And so over the past couple of decades, Bessel van der Kolk and other researchers have really put a lot of time and energy and money into the scientific research of what happens when we work with mindfulness and body-mind connection. So it's exciting because now it's becoming much more known, popular, respected, etc.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Can you tell, without betraying confidences, about a client you worked with who you were able to help find their connection and healing through nature and the difference it made in their life?
Yes. Well, the first person that pops up is I had a client that came to me one time who had a really strong connection with nature, and that was her kind of spiritual place. And one day before she started seeing me, she went to nature to do some prayer and ceremony and actually had a pretty significant traumatic experience there. And so when she came to me, she was terrified actually of um, going on a hike on a trail, and her desire was to reclaim that connection and work and sense of safety. And so, through a long time of first working the trauma in a somatic way, and then us, sitting near nature and then in nature and then walking together. And eventually, she even was able to do a little bit of a rock climbing where she was connected with the rock, and something about sort of doing that bit by bit and doing that with someone else and coming back into her body, having connection with the earth. She was able to really shift that and reclaim nature as one of her main resources and spiritual places. So That was so powerful and
Yeah.
also emotional because of really the big impact that that had had on one of her, again, the places for her that was the most resourcing originally.
Yeah, that sounds really powerful. So now your work is primarily done through the Somatic Nature Therapy Institute, is that correct? And were you one of the founders of that? Or
Yes, yes,
yeah, yeah. So what else?
yes. So it is, I am the founder.
You
Oh,
are
no.
the founder. Okay, so
Oh, yes. It,
tell
yeah.
me more about what the Institute does, and can people who don't live in Colorado work with the Institute in some way?
Oh, thanks for that question. Yes, so it is truly the evolution of my work over time and the threads that I have found the most powerful. And now I have a big team. I have many therapists, facilitators, and also solid administrative support, which is amazing. And we have kind of two different or three different types of things that we offer. One is therapy and coaching, and we do that in person, online, indoors, and outdoors. And that is for people that live in Colorado because we are all licensed in Colorado.
Mhm.
However, we do some somatic coaching and or kind of nature connection coaching with people who are in other states. Usually that's more like a short-term skill-based or goal-based experience. And then I offer a lot of teaching trainings for healers, therapists, coaches, other people who are interested in weaving these kind of modalities into their work. And I do offer 5-day in-person ones in nature in Colorado. So often people fly in for those, or also local people come. But then again, after COVID started, I also brought all of my different teaching modalities online. So I have um, Zoom kind of online live trainings in somatic therapy and nature connection and also in ceremony and ritual. That one is the ceremony and ritual is a 9-month global training that I co-lead with an incredible friend and colleague, Hoeatea Bryson of Nature Knows, who is Maori and also grew up in Australia. So that is a really fun one because we bring people together from all different cultures and really look at what are the fundamental principles of ceremony and support people to create them in the ways that are really personally meaningful, culturally relevant, and help other people do that as well. So there's the training section. And then finally, I offer retreats and wilderness quests, which are in person on the land and have people come to Colorado. And I always say when I do ceremonial work, and these are held in a ceremonial container, that once we decide to do the ceremony begins. And so, what that
Mm.
means is when we energetically commit and turn our attention in that direction, synchronicities start to unfold and ahas come to us. And so by the time we get to the ceremony, or in this case, get to the land, the wilderness quest, often people's intentions have already taken root or have transformed. So we get to the land and we do some preparation with the group and connecting with the land, connecting with intention. And then people go out on 24 to 48-hour solo time to be with themselves and their intentions and mark something that's important in their lives or reflect on something that needs reflected on. And we come back and then we do a whole process of welcoming them back and inviting them to share some of their stories and have it reflected back to them. So that's a body of work that, again, I am so passionate about. And I feel like the world would be a different place if we all got the opportunity to do something like that.
Yeah, I think I would be afraid to sleep alone in the outdoors.
Yes, that is a very, very common fear.
Hmm.
And in the way that we do it, people have a lot of choice. So people can choose how far away they want to go or close to camp. And there's a lot of different modifications that we can make for people because we don't want people to be terrified. We don't want them to be, traumatized
Yeah.
by it. So there's a lot of different ways that we support people to do it in a way that really works for them.
Yeah, it sounds so wonderful. I mean, I started with baby steps of forest breathing on walks during the day, but I'm not a real outdoors person. And I kind of chuckled when I saw in your bio that you didn't like getting dirty as a little kid, but now
Yes.
you're just steeped in the power of nature.
Yes, I know. I love sharing that with people because it's so different now in my life.
Yeah,
Yes.
you really bring people to a place of this immense power that's all around us that so many of us just rush through without even noticing. So I
Yes.
believe in your work.
Ah, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, and one of my passions too is helping people, again, I've said create personally meaningful, culturally relevant ceremonies. And so I also sometimes I mean, the people that work with me as well, will help people create their own rite of passage that isn't necessarily going out for a solo time. And really looking at what works in their lives and where can they pause and reflect. And so I love the creativity of that, really.
Yeah. Well, I think I know the answer to this question because of your passion, which it just shines through when you talk about this. But what do
Oh, thank
you
you.
do, Katie, to become your best version?
Thank you. Yes, I love this question. So, there are a couple things. One is really learning who I am and having compassion for myself. And I love to say to people, know yourself and set yourself up for success. So we all have different ways of self-care. Some of us are introverts, some of us are extroverts and different, ways of organizing things. And for me, it is really continuing to learn what is my way. And for me, that is about definitely connecting with people, connecting with the land. Also, I don't need a lot of quiet time, self time, but some people do. And so, really, just looking at, what are the rhythms that work for me? Also acknowledging that I think balance is not a fixed state. I have like the constant quest for balance, and I think about balance as like being on a surfboard. And so you're, balanced in a few moments and then you get thrown off. So you get back on and find the balance. And so always sort of riding that wave of what is the balance now or how, what do I need a little more or less of? So that's one. And then for me, also, what we were just talking about is really, I do find ways of having retreats for myself. And sometimes that's very simple. Like this week is one of my retreat weeks, and I'm gonna take some more walks on the land and actually put some energy into some of my creative projects that I don't usually have time for. And then other times I go out, and do my own solo time. And so for me, I think it's so important, especially the pace of my life, the pace of our world these days, that it can be so easy to just be sucked into the day to day, to the do all the to-dos. And so I think it's so helpful and so important to find those spaces, to carve them out, to really pause and get to sort of take a big picture perspective or allow space for the creativity to move through. So those are some of the key pieces for me around what I do and what I believe is really helpful.
Yes, absolutely. Both of those things are great reminders to me too, and to our listeners. And I love how I ask that question at the end of every recording, and I never get the same answer. So I
I
collect
love that.
all these pearls, and I get instant boosts every week of how to make my life better. So thank you for
Ah, I
joining the
love that.
wise women of the Becoming Your Best Version podcast. And
Ah, thank you.
everyone can learn more at somaticnaturetherapy.com, and they have accounts on all the social media as well, including YouTube and TikTok. So you can learn more about their offerings, whether it's for trauma, for coming back to yourself, ADHD, finding balance. The array that the Institute offers is really impressive. And
Oh, thank you.
like she said, like Katie said, you don't even have to be a Coloradan to benefit from her amazing offerings. So I
Thank
thank
you.
you for being part of this, and keep spreading that beautiful light with the world and helping to bring us all back to nature, which we need, all of us need.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you for all you are doing and the goodness you are spreading as well. Thank you.
Thank you.